Well, hello. It's Vegas Paulie C, and this is going to be a rambling, possibly at times incoherent post that is really just an old man's memories of this incredible place here in Las Vegas. This was it for me. I mean, I can already smell it. I have not even gotten to the door yet. Wow. All right, I got a little choked up right there. That's the God's honest truth. So in the early 90s, when I was a full-blown addict, I actually managed to get a $15,000 credit line here that I turned into 30, begging and pleading, eventually 50, and then 100. Oh, the atrium. This was it. This was state of the art in 92 when I first came here. My very first trip to the Mirage, I lost $24,000 in about 2 or 3 hours playing blackjack, and then I drove to California. I had enough. And I really didn't enjoy it. But eventually, I would come back here with my $50,000 credit line. Shout out to John Stevens. I still remember the name of my casino credit host back then. And I would lose $50,000 to John Stevens, and then I would beg for a couple of months to pay him. And he had the deepest voice in the world. And he was a very serious guy, and he would give me a couple of months to pay. Anyway, sometime around 93, I met my running mate in all of my shenanigans in the early 90s. She was a stripper, believe it or not. Of course, I had to get myself a stripper because I was so incredibly awkward and nerdy and just uncomfortable in my own skin, which has no pigment, by the way. That's why I suffer from so much social exclusion, but that's a whole nother story. I found my running mate, and I always think of Myrta from the movie Blow. I don't know whether you know her or not. And I would bring her here. Her name was Evie. And we would play to that $50,000 credit line and get drunk and mess around. And I would almost always lose. But I had a great time here in the early 90s. And now it's closing. And I don't know where this post is going to go. I don't know if I'll have the balls to put it up on Instagram and TikTok because nobody cares. But it's definitely going at least on my YouTube, where most of my personal stuff is. And the very last week that I played here, when I lost $1 million, the week of April 20th, 1995, one of my last plays was here. I had $10,000 up. I split twos against a six. And I remember I lost like 3 out of the 4 hands. I ended up owing them $100 some odd thousand, actually $110,000. Oh my God, the memories here. Anyway, one night, one of my favorite stories here, one night I won $100,000 in about 20 minutes playing $5,000 a hand. I took the money, I ran over to the Desert Inn, and I lost it. And I came back here and I got another $100,000, and I took it over to the Desert Inn and I lost it. So I was up $200,000 here. And I requested a comp, and they looked at me like I was out of my mind. But, I mean, I gave them the action. In any case, I ended up losing about $600,000 here over my career. I would say between $600,000 and $700,000. And I can't really say I regret any of it. That was the genius of Steve Wynn. Steve Wynn would enable you to lose large sums of money and not feel bad about it because of how cool he was, because of his personality, because you just wanted to see him, you just wanted to hear his voice. You just wanted to be in one of his properties. And after he built this, he built the Treasure Island, which was also a lot of fun. And then he continued onward. And when he built the Bellagio in 1998, it cannibalized a lot of the revenue. I remember the number that I came up with at the time was $40 million. I don't remember whether that was for the quarter or for the year, but it scooped about $40 million in revenue out of here, which went over to the Bellagio. And that, combined with him opening up Beau Rivage in Mississippi, led the MGM people to get that opening where the stock of Mirage went down to about $11. In the year 2000, we entered a recession, and Steve was in his offices. This is what I heard. Someone on the inside told me this, and he found out that MGM was accumulating stock at $11, $12 a share. Now, a lot of people don't realize Steve only owned a minority part of the Golden Nugget Corporation. I don't know what it was called by then. It might have been Wynn by... No, it was not Wynn by then, but it was definitely Golden Nugget stock. He only owned like 10%, and I think his wife Elaine owned another 10%. So they held about 20% of the stock. And MGM started buying up at around $11, $12 a share because Beau Rivage had come in way under expectations. He spent about $700 million at Beau Rivage in Mississippi, and it was not performing as to its capital expenditure. So MGM started buying stock. And a friend of mine, I always call it a hostile takeover, but a friend of mine who was a casino analyst and very knowledgeable in Las Vegas told me that there's no such thing as a hostile takeover, that they started accumulating stock. Someone on the inside told me that Steve trashed his office. I don't know whether that's true or not. So I don't want to say that I know that for a fact, but Steve was so upset when MGM started accumulating that stock that he trashed his office that day, and they kind of forced him out. I don't really know every single particular, but he got out of there, and then he bought the Desert Inn property for $200 million. Did he pay $200 million for that 200 acres over there at the Desert Inn? Was it $100 million or $200 million? And then he built Wynn Encore, which was his coup de grace, and really finished his career. I don't want to say that I'm honored, but no, not honored, but it was such a coincidence. I was actually in Wing Lee, the Asian restaurant at the Wynn, the night that they announced. They actually announced over the loudspeaker. It was February. God, do I remember the exact date? I think it was February 7th, 2018, but I could be wrong. When they told, they actually announced over the loudspeaker at Wynn Encore that Steve was out, that he was no longer the CEO, and that the new head was going to be Mike Maddox. I could be wrong on some of these numbers or some of these people or some of these dates, but I'm pretty close with everything. And that was it. And Steve was gone, and I was with little Mahi at the time, and I just have so many memories of this place. I had to do something to honor it. The smell in here is not as powerful as it used to be. Back in the 90s, they had that floral scent when you came through the front door. So I dropped about $600,000 here in 90s money, which would be triple today, about $2 million. And I can't say I regret it because it made me a little doggy. Hello, little doggy. It's a little hot doggy. He's so cute. It kind of made me the person that I am, for better or for worse. So this is my farewell to the Wynn. Let's take one more look at the atrium. Wow. The emotions I used to get coming in here. Vegas, Paulie, C.